Have you ever reached out to touch the person you've shared decades of life with and felt her quietly turn away? It's one of those moments no one talks about. You're lying beside her. You remember the way she used to curl into you, the way her breath would quicken just from a glance. But now, her body stiffens. Her eyes are kind but distant. And without saying a word, she turns her back. You wonder, is it the years? Is it menopause? Did I do something wrong? Or maybe worse, does she not want me anymore? Here's the truth no one told us. Many women don't pull away because they've stopped loving. They pull away because they no longer feel seen. Not emotionally, not physically, not intimately. And no amount of performance pills or effort can fix something that's missing at the level of presence. In this video, we're going to unravel what women truly need after 60 to feel safe, open, and deeply desired. We'll also talk about a powerful shift most men never make, and how that shift can transform your connection, even if it's been years since you've been close. And yes, we'll cover simple, science-backed techniques that help you last longer in bed. But more importantly, you'll walk away from this video with a new lens on who she is and how to make her feel chosen again. John believed he was doing everything right. He wasn't unkind. He still made her coffee every morning. They watched their favorite shows at night. He gave her space. He thought that's what a good husband does after decades of marriage. But the distance kept growing. He blamed her hormones, menopause, fatigue. Maybe she just wasn't in the mood anymore. What he didn't know was this: she wasn't turning away because she didn't want him. She was turning away because she no longer felt wanted. Not as a body, but as a woman. This is the misunderstanding that quietly breaks so many connections in couples over 60. We assume that when desire fades, it must be biology. We point to estrogen loss, to vaginal dryness, to medications. And yes, those are real factors, but they are only part of the picture. Here's the truth most men were never taught. For women, desire is not driven by friction. It's driven by feeling. And after menopause, what she feels emotionally matters even more than what she feels physically. In fact, neuroscience has shown that the brain's reward system, not hormones, is the central trigger for arousal in older women. That system is fueled by attention, by emotional safety, by subtle anticipation. And yet, what happens in most long-term relationships? Touch becomes functional. Conversations get shorter. Affection turns into routine. There is less play, less flirting, less presence. Over time, she starts to feel like an object in the room, appreciated but no longer sensed. And that emotional invisibility shows up in the bedroom. She becomes less responsive, not because she's broken, but because her need for emotional foreplay has grown, while his awareness of it has not. Let's pause here. Think about how often intimacy has been defined by timing, performance, or endurance. How many times have you heard, "I just need to last longer"? How many men focus on stamina but forget stillness? Focus on erection but forget emotion? This disconnect is not your fault. Most of us were raised on silent rules. Don't talk about feelings. Don't ask too many questions. Just figure it out. We were handed performance scripts, not connection maps. But those scripts stop working, especially when we're older. Because here's what science and real life both show. After 60, Female desire becomes less about spontaneity and more about security. Less about novelty, more about being noticed. She needs to feel emotionally safe to want anything physical at all. One study from the Journal of Women's Health found that the majority of postmenopausal women who experience sexual dissatisfaction didn't point to physical changes as the cause. They pointed to feeling emotionally disconnected, rushed, or ignored during intimate moments. Let that sink in. It's not about technique, it's about timing. It's not about stimulation, it's about sensation built on trust. So if a woman doesn't respond to your touch, if she closes her eyes and turns away, it might not be because she's not aroused. It might be because she doesn't feel seen. And when she doesn't feel seen, her body doesn't open. No matter how long you try, no matter how gentle you are. That's the core of the problem. We keep asking how to make her climax, when the better question is, how can I make her feel safe enough to even want to begin? And here's where it gets even more eye-opening. Most women, especially in long-term relationships, don't want constant excitement. They want consistent emotional anchoring. They want to know that when you touch them, you're not just reaching for release. You're reaching for them. That's the invisible line that separates connection from routine. And once it's crossed, everything changes. In the next section, we'll look at real stories of men and women who walked this path, who went from distance and disconnection to rediscovery. But before we move on, ask yourself, have you been touching her but not feeling her? Listening to her but not hearing her? Doing your best but forgetting to be present? You're not alone. And it's never too late to shift. Let's take a breath. Because if anything we've said so far hits close to home, you're not alone. In fact, this is one of the most silent, widespread experiences among couples over 60, and it rarely gets talked about. Let me walk you through a few scenes that might feel painfully familiar. Here's David. He's 71, still strong, still sharp, but every time he tries to initiate intimacy with his wife, she gently pulls away. Not harshly, not angrily, just. He asks if she's tired. She nods. He tries again a few nights later. She says, "Let's just cuddle." But when he does, she doesn't soften into his touch like she used to. She stiffens. She breathes differently. Her body feels far away, even though she's right next to it. Or he wonders, is it me? Or take Eleanor. She's 66, she still finds her husband attractive, still loves him. But when he touches her now, it feels rushed, predictable, focused, like a checklist. She misses how he used to look into her eyes, how he used to linger. These days, he just wants to get it done before the news comes on. She doesn't know how to tell him, I need more than just your hands. I need your heart to arrive first. Or Thomas and Rita, married for 43 years. They sleep in the same bed, eat dinner together, take care of the grandkids. But their bedroom feels like a waiting room, polite, quiet, disconnected. They've stopped trying, not because they don't care, but because it feels awkward now. Too much time has passed, too many missed cues, too many assumptions that led to silence. Can you relate? Maybe you've tried to talk to her, but the words didn't come out right. Maybe you've told yourself it's just aging. Maybe you've stopped reaching for her, not because you don't want to, but because rejection hurts more now than it used to. Or maybe you've been on the other side. You want to be close, but the old ways don't work anymore. Touch feels different. Your body responds slower, and you don't know how to explain it without feeling embarrassed. This is where so many couples quietly retreat, not because they've fallen out of love, but because they don't know how to navigate this new chapter. And the saddest part, most of them believe they're the only ones going through it. But that's not true. There are thousands of older adults silently aching for connection, longing to be held without pressure, to be touched without expectation, to be looked at and truly seen again. This isn't just your story. It's our story, and it's one worth rewriting. Because when we speak it aloud, when we name the silence, we begin to break it. And that's the first step back toward each other. We've spent years thinking of intimacy as something mechanical. Stimulus response. Touch here, reaction there. But what if that model no longer applies, especially after 60? Let's break a myth that quietly damages millions of relationships. That women stop enjoying sex after menopause. They don't. What changes is how and why it matters to them. Science confirms it. A 2016 study from the Mayo Clinic found that nearly 70% of women over 60 still desire intimacy, but with very different emotional requirements than when they were younger. Their desire isn't gone. It's just no longer automatic. It needs context. It needs connection. This is where most men, good men, loving men, accidentally get it wrong. They focus on performance while she's longing for presence. They try harder while she's craving softer. They worry about how long they can last when all she really wants is for him to take his time arriving. Let me say this plainly. You don't need to be a machine. You need to be real, grounded, attuned, gentle. That's what opens her now. And here's the part no one told you. For over 80% of women, clitoral stimulation, not penetration, is the key to pleasure. That number doesn't change with age. In fact, as women grow older and their internal tissues become less sensitive, external stimulation becomes even more important. But because many couples fall into silent routines, they rarely talk about it. So women quietly endure. They go along with it out of love. But deep down, they feel unseen, untouched, and disconnected. Add to that the changes of aging, like vaginal dryness, lower estrogen, slower arousal, and it's no wonder she may seem more distant. But here's the hope. These challenges aren't barriers, they're invitations. To go slower, to communicate more openly, to explore more gently, to let go of what sex used to look like and step into what it can now become. So what works? According to a review published by Harvard Health, women over 60 report the highest satisfaction with 3 things: regular emotional check-ins, extended non-sexual touch, and experiences where they feel fully relaxed and unhurried. That means small changes in your approach can create big shifts in her responsiveness. You can start by introducing more moments of anticipation, gentle hand on her back while making tea, a kiss on the forehead without leading it anywhere, holding her hand when nothing needs to be said. Then there's the science of sensate focus, a practice used in sex therapy where the goal is not arousal, but awareness. It teaches couples to rediscover touch not as a path to orgasm, but as a language of love. This method helps reduce anxiety, builds emotional safety, and increases arousal naturally by slowing everything down. And when it comes to physical connection, here's something deeply effective yet rarely practiced. Use your whole hand, not just fingers. Use warmth. Use breath. Use silence. Let her body decide what's next, not your expectations. You can also explore tools that support the journey, like lubricants formulated for mature skin or simple, non-intimidating vibrators designed to stimulate gently without overwhelming. These aren't crutches, they're instruments of care. Because just as eyeglasses help us see, these tools help the body feel more fully. And what about you? You may struggle with finishing too soon. You may feel pressure to last longer. But what if the goal wasn't to delay, but to deepen? The stop and squeeze method, a proven technique studied at the University of California, teaches men how to pause right before the point of no return, apply gentle pressure, breathe deeply, and reset. It's not just a technique, it's a form of control. It's a way to stay present without fear or panic. But more than anything, what she wants is to know you see her. That when you reach for her body, you're reaching for her story, her feelings, her spirit. That's the deeper science. That's the real biology. Because at this age, desire isn't just about hormones. It's about attunement, your ability to read her breath, to sense her pause, to follow her rhythm. You don't need to impress her. You need to attune to her. And when you do, her body begins to say yes again, not out of duty, but out of trust. There's a moment that changed everything for John. It wasn't dramatic, no fight, no tears. Just one quiet night. He had spent weeks reading, reflecting, learning everything he could about what was missing in their intimacy. But still, he didn't know how to begin again. He didn't want to make a move that would be misread. He didn't want to ask a question that might push her away. So that night, he simply sat beside her in bed. He placed his hand gently on her back. No agenda, no go. And after a few minutes of silence, he whispered, "I don't want anything from you tonight. I just want you to feel safe in my arms again." She didn't respond at first, but she didn't move away either. She let out a slow breath, and for the first time in months, she leaned into him. That was the moment the door opened again. You see, the real challenge in this chapter of life isn't about performance. It's about presence. It's about unlearning what we once believed intimacy had to be and rediscovering how powerful stillness, slowness, and sincerity can be. So here's a question that might stop you in your tracks. When was the last time you touched your partner with no destination in mind? Not to arouse, not to initiate, not to fix anything, just to hold. Just to say with your skin, "I'm here." And what about words? When was the last time you looked her in the eyes and said, "You're still beautiful to me. I miss being close to you," not just physically, but emotionally. "I want to relearn how to love you in the way you need now." These words may feel strange if you've gone years without saying them, but they're more powerful than you realize. Sometimes one sentence can melt months of distance. Sometimes one gentle act of non-sexual intimacy can rebuild a bridge that's been crumbling for years. And the greatest irony? When you stop trying to fix intimacy, intimacy finds you again. So here's a challenge, a real one, something you can do tonight. Lie beside her, place your hand on her back, breathe with her, say nothing for a moment, then quietly ask, "Can I just be here with you?" If she says yes, don't rush, don't escalate, don't chase anything. Just stay. Let your presence speak louder than your performance. Let your stillness be the new kind of strength she can trust again. And if you're willing to try this, even once, I invite you to type the word presence in the comments. Not for me, but for her and for you. Because this journey begins not with pressure, not with pills, but with the courage to pause and simply be there. After John sat beside his wife in silence, something shifted. Not instantly, not magically, but the next morning, she reached for his hand across the table. She hadn't done that in months. That one gesture, small, quiet, unrehearsed, was the beginning of something new. So what does it look like to rebuild intimacy? Not with pressure or performance, but with presence and understanding. It starts with letting go of everything you thought you knew about sex. Because after 60, connection isn't about return to youth. It's about evolution, a gentler rhythm, a more conscious touch, a different kind of closeness. Let's walk through 3 powerful practices that can help. First, practice 3 non-sexual touches a day. These aren't hints, they aren't tests. They're simple, unconditional gestures of affection. A hand on her shoulder while she's washing dishes, a soft kiss on the forehead as you pass behind her, a palm resting on her thigh while watching a movie. The rule is no goal, no escalation, no expectation. These touches retrain the body to associate your presence with safety, not performance. They lower cortisol, release oxytocin, and gradually rebuild her body's desire to open again. Second, create a slow room. Pick a space in your home, not the bedroom, not the TV room. Just one quiet corner with soft light, maybe a comfortable chair or 2. This becomes your space for reconnection. Once a week or more, invite her into that space with no agenda. Bring a warm drink, sit close, ask gentle questions. Things like, what's something you miss that we used to do together? What would feel good for you now, not sexually, but emotionally? Let that room be where new trust is planted. Many couples report that simply creating a designated, pressure-free space changes the emotional climate of their home. Becomes a symbol. This is where we slow down. This is where we listen. Third, introduce the 90-second pause. The next time you begin an intimate moment, maybe a back rub, a kiss, a cuddle, try this. Before things move forward, pause. Breathe. Look into her eyes. Ask, can we stay right here for a minute? No moving forward. No hands wandering. Just let the energy simmer. Let the safety build. This simple act changes the game. Because for many women, especially after years of rushed or predictable touch, slowness is the missing ingredient. It's not about doing more, it's about doing less with more awareness. Now let's say you're struggling with early ejaculation. You might think, I don't have time to go slow. I can't last that long. That's exactly why this approach helps. That when you slow things down before arousal builds, your body learns to regulate. You shift from reaction to control. Techniques like stop and squeeze, deep breathing, and sensate focus aren't just for younger men with performance anxiety. They're tools of emotional mastery, especially useful at this stage of life. Here's a sample practice you can start this week. You choose one morning, get up early, shower, put on something comfortable. Invite your partner to sit with you. Place your hand over her hand. Take 5 slow breaths together. Then, without touching sexually, ask, what part of your body wants to be cared for today? Let her answer. Then listen with your hands, not for pleasure, for presence. And if you're not ready to do this with a partner yet, begin with yourself. Practice mindful touch. Not goal-driven, not quick. Just place your own hand on your chest, on your stomach, on your inner arm. Breathe. Notice. Say quietly, "This is my body. I'm allowed to feel again." This is how you rebuild trust, not just between you and her, but between you and your own body. Because when your body feels safe, it stops rushing. And when she feels safe, she begins to soften again. Not because you're perfect, but because you're present. And that's the kind of intimacy that doesn't fade with age. It deepens. As the sun set on a quiet Sunday, John stood in the kitchen drying dishes. His wife walked in, wrapped her arms around his waist from behind, and rested her head on his back. It had been years since she did that. Not after sex, not during a special occasion, just because she felt safe again. He paused, turned slowly, looked into her eyes and said, "I've missed you." She smiled. "I never left. I just needed to feel you were really here." That moment didn't happen because of a technique, not because he lasted longer, not because of something he fixed. It happened because he changed how he showed up. And that's what this entire journey has been about. You didn't come to this video just looking for tricks. You came because something inside you knew. You're ready for a new kind of intimacy, one that goes deeper than physical, one that says, "I see you, I feel you, I want to know you again." So let's return to the very first question we asked. When was the last time she truly felt seen? Maybe tonight is the night to find out. Maybe tonight you'll reach for her, not with urgency, but with presence. Not to get somewhere, but to simply say, "I'm here now." Because the truth is, you don't need to be anyone younger, stronger, or more skilled. You just need to bring your attention back to the place it matters most. To her, to this moment, to the quiet power of being fully present. And if you've made it this far in the video, it means you care. It means something in your heart is still open, still willing, still capable of love that grows deeper with time, not weaker. So here's my gentle invitation to you. Take one small step tonight. One kind touch. One listening moment. One sentence that says, "You still matter to me." And if this video gave you something, an insight, a spark, a breath of hope, tell us in the comments below. What's one thing you'll do differently starting tonight? Your answer might just help another man who's watching, another couple who's silently drifting, another heart waiting to feel seen again. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. Not because we want numbers, but because we want you to have a place to come back to whenever you need a reminder. You are not alone. You are not too late. And you are absolutely worth loving again and again. We'll see you in the next story. Until then, stay gentle, stay present, stay close.